Whoops, there we go. Okay, sorry.
So can you tell me your question one more time?
Yes. So, going off of Isaiah 55:11, what has God spoken over you, and are there any promises that he has spoken over you that have not been fulfilled yet?
Yes, there have been.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't reach my Bible. I can even study. For sure. I mean, I feel like as right now in our lives, most people here are in this young adulthood life of trying to figure out what's the next season and like what's your career path.
Mm-hmm.
And so career path wise, definitely feel like God has called me to missions, and I have not yet seen that come true. I've seen it come true in this, like in the States, but I know that he has called me to missions abroad. So that is definitely something that he's called me to that has not happen. What? Okay. Has not happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's like the biggest one right now, because it's like it's so close, I can taste it, but I can't. Like, I can smell the food, but I can't taste it yet.
Ah.
I like that.
It's right there, but it's not there yet.
No, that's good. Yeah, I would say for me, so I'm the only believer the only Christian in my family. And there is my little brother, Ridge, who 3 years ago when I was at World Overcomers in Raleigh, I just started like crying. It was really weird. I started crying for Ridge, and basically he's like my best friend, and I kind of was like a father figure to him growing up. And God just right then and there renamed him in my heart to Radical Ridge. And it was so powerful, because what a word from God allows you to do is then you start living like he spoke. So he told me that boy is named Radical Ridge, and literally like I think it was like 3 weeks later or something, he got arrested because he got caught smoking in school. And so I've had that promise for 3 years, and now he is a freshman in college. And he called me today and was like, hey, I need a thrift store. And I was like, oh, what you doing? And he was like, oh, I'm going to stop by a Halloween party. Right. And like easily my thoughts can sort of go down this track of, he is so far from radical. He is so far from Radical Ridge. But that is a promise that God gave me that I've just held on to, and loved Ridge, to see him as that. But I would say that's probably like, that's a huge one for me, is the salvation of my family. And then just believing in Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Girl, and I'm just listening to all these fulfillments, and I definitely want to pray over every single one of them, or at least like we all can pray for each other, because, with this, we are a community. Even though like we all might not know each other, some may know each other, we're still a community, we're still sisters. And so I definitely want to pray over everyone's fulfillment. Anybody else? Anything that God has spoken over you that hasn't been fulfilled yet? I talk a lot. I don't want other people to go.
What happened to my pens? Ain't none of them working.
Sorry, Bill. How are you?
Hey, girl. My bad. I was late because we went on a walk with Alyssa and her nephews, and we saw a lot of snakes. So, yeah.
You're a little terrified, boo.
Oh, a little shook. A little shook. It's okay.
Keep your camera off. I want to hear you.
Yeah, no, I look bad. No. It was a little rough out there. I look tore up. But on your question, and Madison, you better preach, by the way. I'm gonna put that in the chat, but you better preach. God is,
Amen. Amen.
He has said, like, I'm meant to do great things. Just thinking of like how I came into the world, like being born really early and combating all those things that doctors and things, spoke over me when I first was born. So I think that hasn't been, I've worked as a teacher for a couple of years, but I don't think that's my end goal. You know what I'm saying? Like, the greatness that God has for me, I haven't stepped in yet. And that's something that is supposed to be fulfilled, but it hasn't happened, it's in the process. It's loading, you know. It's coming. It's loading. But yeah, I hope that made sense. I'm still a little shook from the snakes, but yeah.
Oh, like what kind of snakes?
Copperheads.
Oh, I'm okay.
Yep.
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. Anybody else want to share? I'll go last because I talk a lot. Kayla, you want to go?
I guess. I guess mine kind of goes along with what Mel was saying about career paths. And so, like, whenever I was younger, I wanted to be a teacher, and then that kind of went away. And then recently, God brought me back to being a teacher. And so I think I'm going to be a teacher in a school, like, after I graduate, but I'm not positive what that's going to look like. So I don't know. We'll see. I guess that's a promise that is going to be fulfilled afterwards. I know it's going to be fulfilled, just don't know what it exactly is going to look like yet. So
yeah. Love it. Crystal, you still eating? You still eating, boo?
Yes, but I'll take a moment and just kind of talk.
Okay.
I'm believing God also in the area of career.
I guess, was that it, boo? Hey, Crystal. That might have been it. Okay. I didn't want to cut her off or anything. I would say, of course, I mean, majority of everybody knows this. I would say the biggest fulfillment for me is the covenant of marriage as of right now. I mean, most of y'all know the story. But I had someone speak over me that I was going to have a marriage ministry. And that was the exact same year. This was last year, 2019, that the Lord gave me the name. I put it on a vision board in February. When I met this person in July and she laid hands on me and she prayed when she said, I say marriage ministry. I don't know what she said after that. It just like, you ever have those moments, y'all, where it's just like you hear something from God and all of a sudden, like, they say it and you're just focusing on that and you're just bawling your eyes out. And I don't know what she said after that. Couldn't tell you. All I know is she just confirmed what I was feeling in my spirit, confirmed what God had given me. And so I think that's for me just the biggest covenant, and obviously like career-wise as well. I didn't think I would be a businesswoman, but I guess that's where the Lord is leading me to right now, is doing businesses. And so I want us to look at the definition of covenant, and I'm going to read it to us. And it says, an agreement between two people or groups of people in which both usually make specific promises, that's the first definition, and to the promises of God for salvation. And so that's funny, Maddie, that you say that, because that's what the definition of covenant means. And so I really believe that God is going to make that covenant with your family of agreeing, like, salvation. I want you to, like, come home. You know, I want you to become saved and, you know, they're already his, but professing of our faith. And so, guys don't have to turn there, but I just want to briefly talk about the life of Abraham. And so we know who Abraham is, father of many nations. He was first called Abram before God changed his name to Abraham, and God had made a promise with him. Now, we know Abraham did not see the promise for years and years and years and years, and we know that he waited a very, very long time to receive that promise. But it's almost like, if you look at it, and I'm just thinking about now the foreshadow of Israel, how Israel actually did not see the promise for a very, very, very long time. It was years and years before they would see the promise of Christ, the Messiah. And so what I love in Genesis 12, and you can flip there if you want, that God told Abram to go a place I will show you. Go to the land of Canaan, where now my people will be able to multiply and be fruitful. And these are my people. These are God's chosen people, we know as the Israelites, to inherit the land. And so I'm just quickly reading my notes. Abraham was 75 years old when God had called him. He still didn't have any children. We know his wife Sarai was like, I'm bare, can't birth any children. But Abraham was like, well, go ahead and sleep with my maid, Hagar. And so they produced Ishmael, which was the counterfeit promise. But I mean, obviously through that, you can clearly tell the girl was able to conceive. It just wasn't the promise. It just wasn't time yet. Which I just thought about now, because I'm like, wow, she can conceive. It's not like she was never barren. It just wasn't her time yet to have a child. But if you look at the life of Ishmael, like it was like it's not in my right timing.
And also, you were saying, Christina, earlier that like you don't know if Abraham was discouraged or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a time where he was discouraged, because like he actually fell and like did what his flesh wanted to do, which was make the promise come true on his own.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's so good. So Genesis 12:17, it says, the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring I will give you this land. And to one of my points that I'm gonna say later is that Abram knew no, y'all, this did not happen before. Okay, so y'all, we cut off in about 10 minutes. I'll have to just invite y'all in, okay? If y'all don't mind. I'm sorry. It didn't do this last time, which is crazy. So the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring, I will give you this land. So really, I feel that God is really the one who initiated the promise, saying like, hey, like this is what I'm going to do for you. And we know Genesis 15, the Lord gave Abram in a vision and saying, this is what I'm going to do. And if you keep reading in Genesis 15, he says, Genesis 18:18, he says, Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation, and nations on earth will be blessed. And so we know that we are blessed because of Abraham. We're his descendants. And so if you just look at his life, like you can see, like he had a good life. He was just waiting on that promise. It's not like, his life, which is absolutely terrible or anything, but he was just waiting on what God had told him first. And that's what I love about the Lord. It's like, we don't know this life that God has for us. And so he invites us. And when we also invite him in, he invites us in saying, like, I'm going to do this for you. Like, I'm going to keep my word, because that's the covenant God that I am. And so if you flip to Genesis 21, he finally receives the promise. He finally receives Isaac at 100 years old. Now, I love the Lord. I really do. He hears my cry. But I don't know if I can wait until 100 years old. Jesus, to see their promise. But that's the age that the Lord decided to bless Abram with a child. And so I wrote, like I said earlier, when God confirms, it is his oath to you. And so it is his oath saying, I am going to do this. I am going to fulfill it for you. And so, can I have somebody read Hebrews 13 and 14, please? We're now in Hebrews 6, y'all. I cannot believe it's getting ready to cut off. So we're in Hebrews 6. Finally at our main point, y'all.
You said verses 13 and 14?
Please.
Okay. When God made his promise to Abraham, since there was no one greater for him to swear by, he swore by himself, saying, I will surely bless you and give you many descendants.
Can I have someone read 15 and 16 and also 17?
I'll read.
Okay. Thank you, boo.
All right. And so after waiting patiently, Abraham received what was promised. People swear by someone greater than themselves, and the oath confirms what is said and puts an end to all argument. Because God wanted to make the unchanging nature of his purpose very clear to the heirs of what was promised, he confirmed it with an oath.
So I'll read verse 18 and 19. God did this so that by two unchangeable things in which it is impossible for God to lie. We who have fled to take hold of the hope set before us may be greatly encouraged. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. It enters the inner sanctuary behind the curtain. I'll just continue reading, y'all. Where our forerunner Jesus has entered on our behalf, he has become a high priest in order of. Let's see, y'all. I wrote this word down, so I didn't forget it. Melchizedek. I had to write it down. I was like, how to pronounce that? And so one of the points when I read this is what stuck out to me is verse 17. And I'll read it again. Because God wanted to make the unchangeable nature of his promise very clear to the heirs of what was promised, he confirmed it with an oath. And y'all, when I wrote this point, I was like, ooh, this hit my heart. I said, point number 1 is, have you made God's plans changeable? Right.
Can you explain that?
So we know he's an unchangeable God. And so what he says is going to come to pass. But have we made the plans? Have we changed them in our own life? And if you look at Abraham, he technically did. He did. He made the plan where it's like, I'm going to go sleep with my maid and produce Ishmael. But the plan was to produce Isaac. And so that's why I asked the question, have you made God's plans changeable? Have you changed them in your own life because you failed to wait? Because of X, Y, and Z? Because, we're all women on here. Because, Lord, I'm getting older. I want children. Lord, I'm in my 30s. I want to get married. Lord, I'm trying to, go further in my career, but he's telling me to stay. And so that's one of the things I want to think about is, have you made his plans changeable? Because he has a plan for each one of our lives on here. We have not yet discovered the full plan of it, but we know that it's in the works day by day.
That's good. That's good. Wow. I don't have any words for that.
I know. That hit my heart. I'm telling you, verse 17, if I could park there all night long, I said, oh, Jesus, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm really trying to make your plans changeable. I really am. Have I done it? Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and act like I haven't.
Wow.
But it's like, what I love is because God wanted to make the unchangeable nature. He's unchangeable of his purpose. Y'all, of his purpose. We fulfill the purpose that he already has for us. We carried out on earth. Like, I read this, and it is very clear. Very clear. It is evident that you're doing what you're not supposed to do. Hey, Renita Boo. I didn't even see you on here. And so that's his character. That's his plan. And shameless plug. I don't want to throw out all my stuff. But y'all, I really would love for y'all to get my Psalm 145 devotional. It's powerful. That psalm, it's a powerful psalm on God's kingdom, his plans and promises, seriously. And that's why I titled it The Goodness and Joyful, a reminder of his goodness. Because it seriously is. Like, I remind myself every day, no, God, you are still good. Like, your plans for me are still good. And so, yeah, I want to ask, have any of y'all made his plans changeable? Because he's unchanging.
Yeah, I think that it's also, because everything, before we make an action, we start it in our heads, right? So everything, it starts as a thought first. Mm-hmm. And then from there, once you meditate on that thought, then it turns into an action. And if you take action on it. And I think the way in which we even think about the promises that the Lord has made to us is so huge, because even though we might not act on it, just the thought of it, I mean, that's the thought of whatever it might be, right? So I know for me, I mean, those thoughts happen all the time,
hey,
right?
Hey, baby.
All the time. And so that's actually where I wanted to read, because when the Lord was teaching me, he really marked like my life sort of as Abraham, because
yeah, I hate to cut you off, Boo. So it's gonna log me out. Can y'all come back in when it shuts off? Because
do we just do like the same password and stuff?
I believe so. I'm hoping it should work.
Let's try it.
Okay, it's gonna cut off, but come right back on, y'all. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
It didn't happen last time. I don't know why it's doing this today.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Okay. So, so yeah, let's get off, and then let's hop back on, y'all. Okay?